I want to mention a state of prayer that usually comes before the prayer of quiet, the prayer of recollection. This is a supernatural recollection. It's not about sitting in the dark or closing your eyes or being subject to any external thing. The eyes close of their own accord, and the soul simply desires solitude. It seems that without any intervention, a temple is being built through this supernatural recollection where the soul can go to pray. The senses and other external things begin to lose their hold, and the soul starts to recover what she has lost. It has been said that sometimes the soul enters within herself, and sometimes she rises above herself. I wouldn't know how to explain anything with that kind of language. That's the problem with me. I assume you'll understand things better the way I put them, but maybe I'm only making sense to myself. Let's say that the senses and the faculties, which are the inhabitants of the interior castle, have gone outside. Let's say they have been hanging around for days and years with strangers who despise all that is beautiful about the castle. When they realize their error, they come back. But before they can re enter the castle, they have to break the bad habits they have been accumulating. They are not traitors. They willingly linger in the vicinity of the castle until they can be allowed in again. When the great king who is dwelling in the center of the castle perceives their goodwill, he desires in his wondrous mercy to bring them back to him. He calls to them like a good shepherd beckons his sheep with a whistle so soft they barely hear it. He teaches them to recognize his voice and discourages them from wandering off and losing their way home to their true abode. The shepherd's call grows so powerful that the ties that had bound the faculties to external things and estranged them from him unravel and they enter the castle. I don't think I have ever explained this as clearly as I am describing it now. As St. Augustine said after having looked for God in so many places, it is much easier to find God inside ourselves instead of looking for Him in created things. It's a big help if God grants us the favor of recollection. Don't think that the mind can grasp Him just by striving to imagine Him dwelling within. This can be an excellent meditation practice, founded on the truth that God is inside us, but it isn't the prayer of recollection. Anyone can do this visualization on her own. What I am talking about is different. These souls may already be inside the castle before they even begin to think about God. I'm not sure how they get in or in what way they hear the shepherd's call. It certainly isn't with the ears, because such a call cannot be perceived through the senses. How can I make this clearer? Anyone who has gone through it will know what I mean. The soul becomes acutely aware of a gentle withdrawal inside herself. I think I read somewhere a comparison with a hedgehog curling up or a turtle drawing into its shell. But these creatures pull back into themselves whenever they feel like it. Recollection happens only when God wishes to grant us this favor. I myself maintain that His Majesty only gives this gift to those who have already begun to detach from the things of the world. I don't mean that householders should abandon their households, only that they not be obsessed with the mundane. His call to householders is a special one, drawing their attention lovingly inward. I believe that if we long to make a place for the beloved inside ourselves, He will give us this and more, calling our souls higher and higher. If you have an inner understanding of this, praise God with all your heart. You are right to give thanks for this great favor, and giving thanks opens the door to even greater favors. Certain books teach us that this kind of prayer prepares for us being able to listen to God rather than striving to talk to Him. Instead of trying to figure Him out, the soul pays attention to whatever it is that the beloved is working inside her. Unless His Majesty has begun to absorb us, I don't see how we can put a stop to our minds without actually damaging them. There is a great deal of controversy about this in the spiritual community. I confess my lack of humility here, but no one has succeeded in convincing me of the value of beating the mind into submission. One person tried to use a book written by a man I consider to be a saint, Friar Peter of Alcantara, to talk me into this position. I know that Friar Peter truly understands these matters, and I would have happily conceded, except that, as we read the book together, it became evident to us both that he is saying the same thing I am, only with different words. From what he says, it is clear that the first thing that needs to happen is for love to be awakened in the soul. I may be mistaken, but here's why I believe I'm in not forcibly trying to curb thought. The first reason is that in this work of the Spirit, it is the one who thinks less and has the desire to do less that accomplishes more. What we have to do is beg like those who are needy when they come before a wealthy emperor, and then lower our gaze and humbly wait. When we realize, through his secret ways, that he has heard us, then it is best to remain silent. It is enough that he has allowed us to be near him. Even if we could engage our minds at this time, it would not be wrong to refrain from doing so. But if we are not sure if this king has seen or heard us, we should not forge ahead foolishly on our own. By struggling to induce this state of prayer, we dry up the soul. By trying not to think, we hopelessly stimulate the imagination. The Beloved wants us to ask Him for what we need and be mindful in His presence. He knows what will make us whole. Why should I scramble to make something happen that His Majesty has clearly placed limits on? I'd rather leave the doing to Him. There are plenty of other matters He has not reserved for Himself, like renunciation, acts of charity, and devotional prayer. We can do these things on our own, to the extent that our nature permits, and always, of course, with the help of His loving hand. The second reason is that all these inner activities are gentle and serene. To do anything painful would cause more harm than good. What I mean by painful is anything that we try to coerce ourselves into doing. Think about how much it starts to hurt to hold your breath, for instance. Leave your soul in God's hands. Let Him do whatever He wants with her. Detach as radically as you are able from your own benefit and surrender to the will of God. The third reason is that the harder you try not to think of anything, the more aroused your mind will become, and you will think even more. The fourth is that what is most essential and pleasing to God is that we remember Him and forget ourselves, and that we honor Him and relinquish our own pleasure and comfort. But how can we forget ourselves when we are being obsessively careful not to stir our minds or desires? Such stirring can actually awaken powerful longing for God and serve as the catalyst for spontaneously praising the glory that is His. When His majesty is ready for the mind to grow still, He engages it in another way and illumines the consciousness so completely that it remains absorbed. Then, without knowing how it happened, the mind is taught much more skillfully than we could have ever taught it on our own by trying to make it not think. Didn't God give us our faculties to work with? And isn't this work our reward? There is no point in trying to trick them. Let them do their appointed task until God assigns them a higher one. What I understand is that the best thing to do is to endeavor, without any strain or clamoring, to stem the flow of thoughts, but not to shut down the mind or suspend consciousness. It's important to be aware that you are in God's presence and remember who this God is. If this remembrance alters the consciousness, so be it. But the soul shouldn't try to analyze the state she's in. It is a gift given to the will, not the intellect. The soul enjoy it without any effort beyond a few loving words. Even if you are not actively trying to keep yourself from thinking in this state, thoughts often cease by themselves here, at least for a moment. Remember, this kind of prayer flows as a natural spring, rather than being channeled through manufactured conduits. The mind is restrained here. Maybe it restrains itself. It realizes that it doesn't know what it wants. It wanders from one extreme to another, like a fool who cannot find his assigned seat.